So in today's lesson, we're going to be talking about how to put it all together in your solos. I've talked to a lot of people who've said, Adam, I've learned a ton of scales, I've learned arpeggios, I've learned all this different stuff, and I just don't seem to be able to put it all together, quote unquote, in my solo. So what I take that to mean is basically be able to actually take it all and make a really good sounding solo with it that sounds musical, that sounds creative, that sounds expressive. So that's exactly what we're going to cover, and let's jump right into it. So we're going to be playing over this backing track. It's actually in the key of C minor. I actually got this backing track from YouTube, so check below afterwards if you want to jam this backing track. Very, very good track that I've been having fun playing over. So we're going to go over some different things, and this is going to be assuming that you've already taken all the steps that I've talked about in a lot of other lessons that you need to take. So if I'm playing over a track, I need to know a few things. Number one, what key it's in, and know those notes in that key all over the entire fretboard. So this one's in the key of C minor / the relative major Z flat major. So you better know C minor all over the entire fretboard. C natural minor scale, C harmonic minor scale, and also C minor pentatonic scale. And then you also better know all the arpeggios to all the chords in the progression. So actually the chord progression in this song is going to be based on A flat major 7, and then G7, which is the 5 chord of the next chord, C minor 7. It's basically just this kind of over and over. A flat, G7, and then C minor, and then a couple times F7 happens there, which is also another chord from the key of C minor, actually kind of C Doric, but we'll ignore that for right now. Let's just focus on this A flat, G7 to C minor. So I got to know all my A flat major arpeggios, including A flat major 7, actually. I got to know those. I got to know all my G7 arpeggios. And then my C minor arpeggios. And actually, if you start getting into jazz and you get really advanced, you start learning your extended arpeggios. But let's just assume that you know all that stuff. You know all the freaking notes crap, okay? You get it. All the notes, you know all the right notes to play over it. Now we're to put it all together. So let's play over the track. So step one is focusing more on your rhythm and your phrasing. So make sure you're playing the right subdivisions. So can you play quarter notes? Make those really in the pocket. What about eighth notes? Okay, good. We got those down. What about 16th notes? So make sure you got all those rhythms down. And then now, even more important than that, is going to be our phrasing. So our phrasing, when we're playing and when we're not playing. Let's try mixing up. Let's actually bring this track down a little bit. Let's try mixing up the length of our phrases. So I'm going to play some short phrases first. Let's see what happens if I play a really short phrase, wait, and then play another really short phrase. So I'm just thinking about the length of that phrase. Now let's try a short phrase, wait, and then a long phrase. So short, long. Short, long. Really long. Sure. So just getting ourselves thinking in terms of short and long, okay? Thinking of short and long. That can really, really help your phrasing and start to make you think in a more musical way. Okay, so now number 2 is creating some melodic patterns. So in melodic patterns, you can think of them really technically. You can think of like a thirds pattern. So you can practice your scale in thirds. So for example, I have my C minor scale, like C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. So I skip a note, C to E flat, and then go down to the note that I skipped. So that would be like a thirds pattern. And this is something that you can practice on your own. I've talked about it. But once you get that down a little bit, I think it's actually even more useful to think of your melodic patterns like contours. So, for example, instead of thinking like, oh, I got to play this exact note, this exact note, this exact note, you want to start to think more of, oh, I'm going to go up and then down. So I might create a melodic pattern like this. It's not going to be the same interval every time, like up and then down, and then 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 up and then down. So thinking more general, thinking in directions. And this can really help you thinking directionally. So let's try that. So I'm going to do that up and down thing. And now change the rhythm, including the step 1. Right, so you see how that all of a sudden now, it sounds like one continuous idea. So melodic patterns, but not just really thinking of them technically like thirds, fourths, and fifths. That's a good way to practice them at first when you're just working your technical skills, but thinking more directionally. Okay, this is a very underused one because people are sometimes scared of feeling repetitive, but number 3 is going to be motifs and then variations of those motifs. So I'm going to play like one super simple idea, and then I'm going to kind of stick to that idea the whole time. And you know what? To make it even really simple, I'm going to play just a C minor pentatonic scale. Okay? The pentatonic box that everyone knows. I'll base it off of that. So let's see. I'm going to create a motif, which is going to be based on a rhythm, by the way. Rhythms are super helpful for creating motifs because the rhythm kind of glues everything together. So let's listen to that. There's my motif right there. So create some variations of that. What if I play it backwards? Using the same 4 notes. Repeating some of the notes. Not playing all the notes, but it's still based on the same idea. You can still tell, hey, he's kind of based on the same idea. So, in other words, really trying to milk all you can out of that one idea. That's something that is very, very, very underrated when it comes to soloing, is really creating variations of a simple idea. You can create variations of more complicated ideas, but creating a variation that's simple idea, guys. I mean, it's so like less stressful too, right? You don't have to be like coming up with 800,000 ideas in your solo. Cool if you can come up with lots of ideas, but it connects with the listener more when they can see, oh, yeah, that's based on the same idea, the same motif. And it's sort of like I've talked about in last videos. If you're playing a song, you play the melody from the song, that's your motif. So can never go wrong with being motivic, okay? So number 4 is kind of piggybacking off this one. Stop changing notes all the time, okay? So all the time, it's so tempting because we have a bazillion different notes we can play on the guitar to think I constantly got to be playing different notes. But one of the things that I like to implement more than any of this other stuff, actually, we've talked about, and of course, alongside it, is really like sticking on one note for a while and then finally changing notes and then sort of really slowly changing notes. So I'll play the same note 10 times, 8 times in a row. So it helps us sound a lot more melodic, but also a lot more rhythmic at the same time. Look, let's see what I'm talking about. So I'm singing the same note like over and over and over, and then I'm changing. And it sounds nice and melodic, and it's less predictable too. We're not playing the same sort of box pattern or same lick over and over. It's not even really a lick. It's also very easy in the left hand. We don't have to do a bunch of crazy stuff with our left hand. And then we can play along one string too and get this vocal quality. I always talk about playing on one string, learning on one string. So, stop changing notes all the time. Like just that alone, you don't even need to learn a new lick. You don't even need to open up a book or anything. Just say like, wait a second, I'm probably changing notes constantly because that's the first thing that we always think of is adding more notes, adding more notes, more notes, more notes, more notes, more notes, more notes. Okay, so the last thing that I want to tell you about is the simplest thing, but possibly the most important, because if you're not doing this last thing that I'm going to tell you about, well, it's going to be really hard for you to do any of the other things, okay? So number 5 is relax, okay? I've talked about relaxing before, but it's not good enough just to be relaxed. No, the more relaxed you are, the better. So don't just want to be relaxed. We want to be as relaxed as possible. Okay. So if you're only 5 out of 10 relaxed, let's try to get that to 8 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, ideally. It should feel effortless. And feeling effortless comes from 2 things. Number 1, it does come from practicing, but it doesn't just come from practicing. You need to practice relaxing too. So taking out all that tension from your pick and the tension from your left hand. Also, by the way, this number 4 we just talked about, stop changing notes all the time. I think that helps really relax your left hand because like my left hand doesn't have to do as much stuff. But with the picking hand, here's a big tip I have for you. Turn your amp up and pick lighter. Okay, so right now, actually, if I turn my volume knob off on my guitar and I played, you wouldn't be able to basically hear it at all. So that's one thing, by the way, I just want to tell you about is don't practice unplugged so much. I know a lot of people say practice unplugged. It's okay, but no, practicing unplugged can be actually bad because when you're practicing unplugged, you're going to be picking super hard. Why? Because you want to hear yourself, but you can't hear yourself because you're unplugged. So no, you got to practice plugged in so that you can let the guitar and let the amp do the work for you. So you don't have to be picking like super hard. No, you don't want to do that. You want to, like I said, if I rolled off my volume knob, then You wouldn't really be able to hear it because I'm so relaxed and my picking is so effortless because it's quiet. The quieter we can get it, the more relaxed we can be. So I'm just gonna jam out. I'm just gonna try to relax for 30 seconds and then we're gonna wrap this video up. There's a motif. Wow, wow. Including the slide in my motif. There's another motif. Da 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 da. The rhythm. Da 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 and the contour. Starting phrases on the E. Another motif. If you're interested in learning step by step every single one of the fundamentals that I talked about you having to know in this video to be able to put it all together to play a fantastic solo over any song or backing track, make sure you head on over to jamsville.com right now and check out the Jamsville GPS Fretboard Fundamentals course. When you're done with this course, you are going to be a completely different guitar player and you're going to know every single thing that you need to know so that you can play awesome solos and understand exactly what you're doing with total confidence. Also, make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of the awesome lessons that I'm putting out here every single week. So until next time, listen, learn, and jam.